you don't have to accept the invitation to the pity party. Hello, beautiful people. It's been a little while since I uploaded a video. My son was sick, and then I got sick, and then I got slammed with orders from my business. So, excuse me, I've just been a little bit busy or sick or attending to someone else who was sick. So I do apologize for the gap in video uploads, but hey, I'm a human like everyone else. Life happens for me just as anyone else. So sometimes I may not be able to get to upload the videos as I plan. But while I was on that little hiatus, something came to mind that I thought would be a great video. And that is, you don't have to accept the invitation to the pity party. Yes, someone made a party and sent out invitations and invited everybody, and you don't have to go because this is a pity party. And what I mean by that is, have you guys ever been talking to someone and they say something like, or you might say something like, man, I'm a little behind on my bills this month. And then they might come back and say, well, I'm 3 months behind on my bills. I'm about to get evicted. I'm about to lose my car. Or something to that effect, where it's like they're trying to one-up you, like this is a competition. Why do we do that? I call it trauma competing. Why do we trauma compete? Why do we have to see who has it worse than the other? Like, I think the competition we should be part of is the winning competition, the one who gets the promotion, the one who makes the most sales, the one who gets the deal. Why are we competing for who has the worst stuff happening in their lives? Why are we competing for that? So there was a time that I was, I was in therapy, not ashamed to say it because therapy helps. And it was during the pandemic, so I had to do it over the phone. And I was at work. I was on my lunch break because it was like the only time I could do it. Otherwise, either the therapy office was going to be closed or I was going to be really busy with children, and I was pregnant with my second son. And I was just talking, and when I got off the phone, this girl was like, she wasn't trying to be rude. She's like, I wasn't, trying to hear your conversation, but I just kind of heard some stuff. And I just want to tell you that I think I have it worse than you. And I'm like, I know she didn't mean harm when she said it. She didn't mean harm. But this is what I'm talking about. Like, it's not a competition. I'm not in competition with you as far as your trauma. I don't want to be traumatized. I don't want to have it worse than you. So when people do that, you don't have to accept that invitation to that party. It's okay if your trauma is not worse than theirs. It's okay. It's okay if you didn't have a horrible childhood. You didn't grow up poor. You weren't in an abusive relationship. It's okay if you didn't experience those things. Okay. It doesn't mean that you're less valid as a human. It doesn't mean that your experiences are less valid. And it doesn't mean that the advice or level of expertise that you have is any less valid than anybody else's. Okay. You don't have to have this horror story of a life. You don't have to. It's okay to have a pretty good, decent, happy life. It's okay to have a nice childhood. Okay. It's okay to not know what it's like to be poor. Oh, well, you've never struggled, so you can't relate. Okay. Then I'll find the circle that I can relate to. You don't have to relate to everyone, and if you have had that kind of life where you struggled and you had a not great childhood and you grew up not so rich, that's fine as well. There's nothing wrong with that either. You find your circle, find the people that you can relate to, but you don't have to accept that invitation to the woe is me club. You don't have to be part of that. And if you have a happy life and someone feels like you're not relatable, then that's okay. You're not relatable to that person. Find the people that you can relate to, because you don't have to dim your light. You don't have to make your life horrible in order to relate to a few people who don't understand your beautiful life. we're different people. We have different experiences. We go through different things in life, and that's okay. And I just want you all to understand that just because someone says, well, I'm 3 months behind on my bills, you don't have to come behind them and say, well, they foreclosed on my house. You don't have to come behind them with that. You don't. You just say, oh, I'm so sorry that you're dealing with that. If there's any way that I can help, I would love to help you. You don't have to compete with them on whose life story is worse. Okay? I'm just going to be honest. That is one of the most ridiculous things that I've experienced in my experience living. Seriously. Like, I would think, that if anything, if you're going to compete, you want to compete to see who can be better, who can dress the best, who can, I don't know, make the most sales in business, who can sing the best if you're in a singing competition or a talent show. Like, you would want to see who can do better, not worse. You know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of weird to me. So just remember that it's okay if you don't have a traumatic horror story for a life story. It doesn't mean that your life story is not valid to someone, okay? Because there are people out there who have had traumatic, horrible life stories who look for people like you who have had the so-called better lives. They look for you because you are the light to them. So continue being that light, I had a great childhood. That's not necessarily that we were rich. I mean, we weren't always rich, but I can't say that I had a bad childhood. I didn't grow up in an abusive home. I didn't experience eating crackers and water because we didn't have any food. I'm not bragging, and I'm not saying that, I'm not, coming down on those who have experienced that, but I've just not experienced that. I'm sorry if I'm not relatable to those who have, but I can't experience what I've never experienced. I just can't. It didn't happen for me, and I'm sorry for those who experienced that. I just didn't. So I can't tell that story. I have other stories I can tell. I can tell you, well, I'm not going to tell my business, but I have other stories that I can tell to people, not on YouTube, but I can, I have other stories that might be relatable, but that's not one of them. I can't accept the invitation to that party because I don't know anything about that kind of life, to be honest. So I'm just here to say that, for those who didn't experience those horrible life stories, it's okay. You are not less valid as a human, okay? You still have something wonderful to contribute to the world. And always remember that there are people who are looking at your light and trying to follow your light. So continue being that light. And then there's people who want to dim that light because, whatever, they have their reasons, whatever. But yeah, that was something that came on my mind during my little hiatus there because I noticed this and I'm just kind of baffled by it, but continue being who you are. Continue trying to strengthen yourself, strengthen your faith in God, keep God at the center and the forefront of your life. And just remember that even when things get challenging, God always has your back. God always has your back. And this last couple of weeks that I didn't upload, it was a bit challenging for me. I did experience some frustration and some anger, but I never forgot that God is my foundation. And that is what helped to bring me back to center. Being a God-fearing person doesn't mean that you never experience emotions, that you never experience trauma, that you never experience heartbreak, that you never experience anger, frustration. It just means that, like I said in a previous video, those are normal emotions. It just means that you know who to turn to when you experience those things. And that was just kind of what I was dealing with, some frustration. So I would just turn to God to, help me get through the frustrations. But with that being said, I'm going to bid you all peace. And like I said, remember, you don't have to accept that invitation to that pity party. Peace.